the OTP. I'm Amie Wells, joined by Coach Mac and Rhett Bryan, our resident draft experts. I feel like every time I intro you, I need to get a little bit better. I don't know what the ultimate one is going to be when we finish these position previews. You started as gurus, now you're experts.
Well, all of them are exaggerations. Let's just get that out.
That's
no,
true.
they're definitely
That
not.
is very true.
Let's get that out.
By the end, I don't know what you are, masters, wizards,
I
don't know, but you'll be something by the end of this. We are
Draft emeritus.
we are continuing on through our draft preview series where we are taking a deeper dive into some of the names that you should know in every position group ahead of the 2025 NFL Draft. If you haven't heard the first couple, you need to go back and listen to them because they're very helpful and there's a lot of good information in there. It's all things defense, so you can head over to TennesseeTitans.com. You can get to them there. They're on the Titans YouTube channel. That would be a great place to watch them if you like to consume a podcast in a more visual manner, or you can get them wherever you get your podcasts. So,
rate, subscribe.
there you go. And do all of those things when you're there. We are moving on now to offense. And I guess we ended at the line of scrimmage with defense, so that is where we should pick up on offense. We're talking about the big boys up front, the offensive line. It feels like maybe we should do this like interior offensive linemen and then tackles, because there's a lot of names to know within those two different position groups. There's a lot to discuss. So, are you guys ready?
I am.
To that point, Amy,
Yeah.
this draft more than any other, last year it was really heavy in true offensive tackles. There's a lot of crossover guys in this one that played tackle in college. They're going to move into that center guard triangle probably at this level.
I think that's a good thing to point out because it is every year it's a little bit different in terms of where people are going to be. And along the offensive line, there's so many different nuances to the different positions. So, Rhett, do you want to get us started with some of your names to know within the interior offensive linemen?
Sure. And this guy's a guard. He started 25 games at left guard for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Tyler Booker, 6'4" and 5'8", 321 pounds, 11-inch hands.
Whoa.
34 and a quarter arms, wing 83 and a half inches.
Whoa.
And then in his testing at that size, 6'4", almost 6'5", 321, he ran 5.38 in the 40, 1.96 in the first 10, 4.84 in a short shuttle, 7.96 in a three-cone, 27-inch vertical leap, 7.10 broad, 21 reps at 225. He's one of the preeminent interior guys. He's more than likely a guard in this thing. You're going to see some of these guys that maybe even play guard switch to center in this, so as Mac was talking about. He's one that starts right off at the top of the list. There's another guy, to Mac's point, about a guy who played tackle in college that may be more suited to move inside, and that's Jonah Savanea from Arizona. 4.95 in the 40, 1.72 in his first 10, 4.66 in the short shuttle, 29-inch vertical leap, 8.10 broad. He started at Arizona as a right guard as a true freshman. Then the last 2 seasons, he's been the right tackle. So he started all 36 games in his career, and the bulk of them at right tackle, over 2,400 snaps for the Wildcats. And there's an idea that he may work inside, and he may actually be a swing player that plays a couple different positions. And then the last one is Tate Ratledge from Georgia. And we know him because of the big mustache and the curly mullet. And honestly, when I showed Mac a headshot of this kid, I was like, he looks like Mike Ditka's grandson. He would very much look like Coach Ditka did back in the 80s when young Coach Mac was coaching for him.
He had a big nugget sitting on his shoulders. I know that.
A big nugget, not a Rhett nugget. Tate Ratledge is 6'6" and a half, 308, hands 10 and 3/8, arms 32 and a quarter, wings 79 and a quarter, 4.97 in the 40, 1.72 in the first 10, 7.38 in the three-cone, 32-inch vertical, 9.5 in the broad, 14 games at guard in 2022, 12 in 2023, missed 4 games in 2024 with tightrope surgery on his ankle. And he had another thing. His first career start in 2021 against Clemson, Lisfranc injury that ended his season. So we had one career start there. And there's a local tie with this. His father is a very well-known high school football coach in the state of Tennessee, in Cleveland, Tennessee, and in Georgia, Dean Ratledge, who was a star of his own, right up the road in Cookeville at Tennessee Tech. His dad played there in the 70s. Very good ball player. But those are my guys on the inside.
I love it. I think that the guys on the inside are so interesting because there's a lot of attention and conversation around the tackle position. But Mac, you talk about the center guard triangle all the time. That's where that lives. Like, that's such an important part of protection it's kind of the fulcrum of a whole offense.
Who's getting paid on defense nowadays? And you're looking at the massive defensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
The three techniques that play on the outside shoulder of the guard, the shade that plays between the center and the guard, because the quickest way to the quarterback, as fast as the football is coming out now, in offenses, I mean, these RPOs, the ball is coming out really fast. It's hard to get there from the edge. If quarterbacks are not holding the ball, then your best area to be able to get pressure is up the middle. So all the money that's being paid now to defensive interior players in the National Football League, just take a look at your salary cap, where there's a lot of money there. Your center guard triangle's got to be stout. What you would like to have, what you'll hear most clubs talk about, is they'd like every one of their offensive linemen to have tackle feet and then be able to move into that center guard triangle, because it's becoming more and more what you want. The first guy I've got here is Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. This guy is the quintessential guy that's going to move in, that played tackle at North Dakota State. He's 6'6", 312, 32-inch arms. Now remember what I said, because this is going to be a reason he's moving inside. 9.5 hands, 36.5 vertical, and a 9.3 broad. That's extreme explosion for an offensive lineman. Bench press 26 reps. This guy has got exactly what you want. You talk about somebody that's got natural anchor. We talked about what anchor was. This guy has got natural anchor. He's very aware with what's going on as far as games going on up in front of him. He can get to the second level with his blocks. He can hold off defensive tackles, stands his ground tremendously well, got great leg strength, got great lower body strength. His two-hand punch is devastating. I mean, he can crush your chest, which is what you want. It's devastating with that. And he also plays with a lot of nastiness, which I love. You've got to like that. He didn't allow very many pressures there at that level of ball, but he's got short arms. He's got short arms. He played tackle at that level at North Dakota State, but 32-inch arms in the National Football League, that's hard to compensate for out there on the edge. He may not move inside to guard. He may move inside all the way to center. He may go all the way to center when somebody drafts him, but I think this guy has got a chance to be taken somewhere in the bottom of the first round possibly.
Didn't Peter Skronsky have short arms? I feel like we've had this conversation before.
Well, it's a truth, and
yeah.
and Peter Skronsky was a left tackle,
Mm-hmm.
but he needed to move inside, which is a perfect spot, for him. And this guy, though, they played him at center in the Senior Bowl, didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
And all the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl, he was really good. They played him at guard. So Gray Zabel, remember that name from North Dakota State. Next guy is Marcus Moe from Purdue, 6'4", 303, 32-inch arms, 10.5 hands, bigger than yours, Amie.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy is a really good athlete. Quick feet, his techniques against any type of pass rusher are really diverse. He's got violent hands, really violent hands, very rarely misses with a punch. He can hold off speed rushers. He's an athletic run blocker. He's got range to pull. He's got a competitive edge to him, and all these guys on the inside have to have that. He lacks a little bit of mass. He's 303. That's not real heavy for what's going on now. There's a lot of times where you will see him struggling to fit up blocks and gain control when his opponent gets on him quick. But this guy is going to be a player in this league, but he will be a player on the inside.
Can we pause and define violent hands? Because I feel like that's something that's going to come up
again.
again.
Here's what I'm saying about that. You've got to strike first. Whoever strikes first and gets inside leverage with their hands usually wins the snap.
Okay.
And to be able to get inside leverage first, you've got to be able to strike first. And it's got to be violent. You've got to be able to have a heart-stopping punch to be able to get them, not to get to their second move. That's extremely important. And again, that comes from lower body strength. It comes from the coordination between the lower body flex to punching out. That's why, again, all of these explosive drills are so important to measure. But the violent hands, especially there and on the defensive front, that's something you're looking for. If somebody has passive hands, if you've got wide hands, then you're giving your chest up. If you give your chest up like a billboard on the highway and let them just drill your sternum, then you're going to lose that rep. So that's what violent hands are for.
Okay, continue on. I'm sorry
thanks.
I interrupted.
I will. All right. You got Jared Wilson from Georgia. 6'3", 310, a little over 32 and 3/8 arms, 10 and 3/4 hands. Again, big mitts. That's what you're looking for. A 4.8 40, a 1.72 split, which is excellent for a 310-pounder. 32-inch vertical, 9.4 broad. His pass blocking is really good. He's got what I think is advanced hand usage. He can drop his hips and sink his anchor really well. He drops his hip. He doesn't play straight-legged, which is really important. He's got a good, strong, wide base. He's got grip strength. Talk about 10 and 3/4-inch hands. He's got big mitts, being able to do that. He can land a two-hand punch with extension. He doesn't miss much with his punches, Amie. He's fluid, sliding his feet. He can get overpowered some at the point of attack. Watch him in a game against Walter Nolan, who we talked about in the previous days.
Yeah.
As a 3 technique, a defensive tackle. Walter Nolan could beat him with a quick move, so he's going to have to work on that, being able to counter that. And to me, this guy is going to be a good interior player, but he's got some technique stuff he's got to work out. All right?
All right. Is there a player in this group that could go maybe a little bit higher or fall a little bit further than expected?
Depends on who's drafting them.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't know. I mean, what people want, you just don't know.
This summer, SeatGeek has your ticket to the best live concerts in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. SeatGeek has the best seat, your seat, for an unforgettable summer. From rock royalty to rap superstars, R&B to country, find it all on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of Nissan Stadium. Little Caesars is the official pizza partner of your Tennessee Titans. Download the Little Caesars app and get your favorites delivered today. Delivery fees apply. Now, back to the OTP. Do your
Okay, here we
tackles
go.
list.
Will Campbell from LSU.
Yeah.
This is a guy there's going to be a debate about where he's going to go.
It's a good one.
6'6", 319, 9.5 hand, arm length 32 and 5/8. Wingspan is 77 and 3/8 with a little note here that Rhett put on my sheet because he's the notes guy. Shortest wing of any tackle at the combine since 2011.
Whoa.
I gave him a nugget to deliver.
You gave him a Rhett nugget.
Because, I mean, I recognize a Rhett nugget when I see it.
Yeah. Wow. That is interesting, though.
No, it is. I mean, and it's relevant to probably as to where he's going to be drafted and to where he's going to play. 4.98 in the 40, 1.76 10-yard split, 32-inch vertical, 9.5 broad. Great hand usage. In pass pro, he can sink, he can bend. I would say he's got above average play strength. Leverage issues are not a problem because he's got really good footwork. He's got good range. He's got good bend. He's not a lower body stiff player at all. He can locate his targets in space, and that's important. It's important for as much as you're playing pin and pull now, which means you're down blocking and you're pulling linemen. They have to block in space. The pin and pull schemes are big now. He can do that. But his weaknesses are he's legitimate 33-inch arms. And so he's likely going to convert to guard in the National Football League. That's just the truth. But his movement skills are adequate, but they're not elite, all right, in my humble opinion. So to be able to survive on the edge, he's got a real small margin for error. That margin for error gets a lot bigger once he moves inside to that center guard triangle because the difference is when you're playing offensive tackle, there is no population out there. It's you and air. You and air and an opponent. There's population on the interior. You can get help. You can get help from the right. You can get help from the left. The closer you move in, the more chance you've got to utilize population around you. I think that's where Will Campbell's going to go.
Interesting. That's a good point about just having people there to provide support. You don't think about it, but it makes a tremendous amount of sense.
Well, it's part of the reason why they talk about running the ball, passing the ball, executing. It takes all 11, but it certainly takes those 5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's why you'll hear in draft rooms all the time talking about is he a good space player? Is he a population player? I mean, those things matter.
Yeah.
You know, they matter with skill sets. Next guy is Jice Simmons from Ohio State, 6'5", 317, 10-inch hand. You can see all of these guys, these bigger guys, they got big paws. Arm length 33, wingspan of 80. His pass sets and light feet are exactly what you want. His footwork got a lot better this year. He can recover. His anchor is really good. I mean, it improved too. He's got range. He's got good hip flexibility. We talk about that. One of the drills they do at the combine that you don't get to see, but they measure it. They'll have the offensive linemen stand with their feet shoulder width apart, and then hands straight out, and then just bend. Just bend down as far as they can without teetering. If you've got a big dude that can go up and down like a yo-yo without teetering, you'll see some of these guys start down, and then their center of gravity either goes forward, it either goes to the side. That's measured. They measure to see that. I mean, and they film it because that's important to know. Try it sometime in front of your mirror. Okay.
Oh, I will.
You're married to an offensive lineman. He can probably go bounce up and down easy.
Yeah, I bet he probably can.
He probably can. Now, he missed half of 2024 with a knee injury. A lot of times we talked about hand placement. He plays with his hands a little bit wide at times. That can be a problem. And he has some trouble in space locating people. But this guy here, somebody's going to draft him pretty high because he's got some requisite foot skills to survive. All right, the next guy is a guy that kind of impressed me at the Senior Bowl, all of us, when we saw him. It's Anthony Belton from North Carolina State. He's a legitimate giant. He's 6'6", 336, 10.25 hand, 34-inch arms, 82-inch wingspan. Vertical jump is 29.5. That's a lot to get 336 off the ground that high. Broad jump at 8'11". This guy's an enormous tackle. He's got tremendous play strength. He's a raw power player. His side of the line of scrimmage, he will completely collapse it down. If he's working off of a down block, we talk about pin and pull. He's the pin guy. He can collapse it. He consistently lands good hand punches. He's just a beast out there on the edge. Now, as big as he is, he's got heavy feet. So he's not a dancing bear out there. He's got heavy feet. And again, a lot of times because he gets a little bit top heavy, he'll have some balance issues. Okay, now when you watch,
are heavy feet good or bad?
Bad.
Bad. Okay.
You want feet like a tackle, like he was talking about.
You want a dancing bear.
You want blue feet.
Yeah, you got to move. When you watch North Carolina State, scheme-wise, they gave him a lot of inside help to take care of stunts and those types of things. If you want a guy that can just completely engulf people on the edge and you do a lot of stuff where he doesn't have to chase people in space, this is your guy. I think when he comes into the league, if he gets a little bit more technique coaching, you can work with some of that. He's a mauler on the outside. He's a lot like, this year one of the big talks in the league was when Mekhi Becton moved from the left tackle, where he said that's what he was, and they finally moved him inside there at Philly, and he was a devastating monster at guard. Won the Super Bowl with him in there. He really helped that offensive line. He's going to be an interior lineman now to begin with. But this guy is a lot like what Becton was, not as accomplished early on, but he's a monster on the edge. Just remember this name, Anthony Belton. Somebody's going to take him. Last guy on my list is Ariante Ursery from Minnesota, another giant. When these guys stand above the guys when they're in a group out there, then you know they're giants.
Yeah.
Because they're all big.
Yeah.
It's like watching an NBA basketball game from courtside. You realize how big they are because on television, they all look the same size.
Right.
Because they are, but the same size as giant. 6'6", 331, 9.5 hands, 82 wing. This guy's an athlete. 5 flat in the 40.
Wow.
29.5 vertical, 9.3 broad jump. He's got good size, length, good heavy hands. Heavy hands are good, right?
Yes.
Heavy hands are good. Heavy feet are bad. Just remember that.
Write that down, everybody.
He's fluid in the hips. He's got some straight line explosiveness. Sometimes now he's 6'6", plays a little tall. His anchor can get compromised. And for some reason, when you look at the tape from 2023 to 2024, his run blocking consistency was a little better in 2023. And The other thing is, occasionally on this guy, we talk about waist benders. You will see him falling forward, so he's going to have to work on. He's going to have to work on that. But again, there's not many humans walking the earth that are 6'6", 331 that can run like he can. So,
right.
Ariante Ursery, Minnesota Golden Gopher.
Fast. All right, Rhett, who are your tackles to know?
Kelvin Banks Jr., Texas Longhorn, 6'5" and an eighth, 315, hands 10 and 3/8, arm 33 and a half, wing 84 and 3/8.
Woo.
He did 5.16 in the 40, 179 in his first 10, 7.81 in the 3-cone, 32-inch vert, 8.8 broad at 6'5" and an eighth and 315.
Wow.
Started 42 games at left tackle for the Longhorns, 2024 Lombardi Award winner. So comes with pretty good pedigree there. The next one is a guy we saw at the Senior Bowl and again at the Combine is Josh Connerly from Oregon. Josh Connerly, 6'4" and 5/8, 311, hands 10 and 3/8, arm 33 and a half, wing 82 and a quarter, 505 in the 40, 171 in the first 10, 34 and a half inch vertical leap, 8'7" broad, but 34 and a half inch vert for a guy that's nearly 6'5", 311, pretty good. 28 starts at left tackle for the Ducks, allowed just one quarterback sack in over 500 pass block reps in each of his last 2 seasons. And then the last one is the guy that may have helped himself more than anybody this offseason. He got sick the week of the Senior Bowl, had to leave, but put on a great show at the Combine, and that's Armand Membu from Missouri. 6'4" and a quarter, 332, hands 9 and 3/4, arm 33 and a half, wing 82. And you're talking about a guy that 4.91 in the 40 at 6'4" and a quarter, 332. So athlete there, 174 in his first 10, a 34-inch vertical leap, and with 33 and a half inch arms, did 31 reps at 225. Started 30 games for the Tigers at right tackle. He may be, because it's not a straight up, this guy's a tackle like we had at the top of last year's draft. He may be the first tackle taken now.
He's a Mizzou Tiger.
Woo.
Amie donates NIL money to Mizzou.
Yeah. Well done, Amie.
Yeah.
Well done.
Sure.
And she's paying the right one.
Hey, Titans fans, with a Kroger Boost membership, you'll score big with double fuel points, free delivery, and lots more. Go to Kroger.com/boost for details. Kroger, the official grocer of the Tennessee Titans. Tighten up. Home is the forefront of all we do. It's why we're so committed to caring for the places and spaces in which we work and live. Ashley, the official furniture provider of the Tennessee Titans. Now, back to the OTP. Can we talk about 40 times for offensive linemen? Because
Sure.
never outside of something seriously wrong
A busted
going
play.
down.
Yep.
Do you see an offensive lineman running for 40 yards at any point? What are you able to glean from the 40 times for offensive linemen?
Nothing.
Seriously?
10-yard split.
Right, 10 yards. That's why I mentioned that with
Yeah.
Memphis 174 in the first 10 for Armand Membu at 6'4" and a quarter, 332.
Yeah, it's a 10-yard split, and if you ever go to the Combine, you'll see that they have official timers, and they have the electronic timing set at the 10, set at the 20, and set at the 40. When you're at the Combine, this is just a little bit of the insight. Teams draw for the row that they're timing from.
Really?
You think I've never told you a lie yet?
Well, that's certainly not true.
You've
But I
never
believe.
told me that. This is interesting.
but
So,
I believe-
OT people, you're getting the goods here.
Yeah.
That's a Mac nugget.
Because they have a section set up, and if any civilian ever comes in and sits left of where they're timing, the whole thing stops. They get yelled at, they get shamed, have to leave. Now, because they want line of sight. They want line of sight.
Shame.
They want line of sight on the start, and then at the people that are there just to time the 10, just to time the 20, just to time the 40. You draw for your row. You have to sit in that row the whole Combine. So my point being, when the big linemen go, the first thing that they will relay, because they all relay the numbers that they've got, and they check is for the big dudes is the 10.
Interesting. Huh, look at that little insight. But it makes a lot of sense that the full 40 time wouldn't really mean anything.
Well,
to
but
you.
you have one that runs on unusual times, like the under 5 flat for those big men, then you know you've got an athlete.
Yeah.
You know you've got an athlete.
Is there anybody that has an incredibly high ceiling or an extraordinarily high ceiling in this group? Like somebody who really, the sky's the limit for them and what they're able to do once they get to the next level and kind of get their feet on the ground?
It remains to be seen for me in this draft, in my opinion, because there's just not that many straight up, yep, that's a tackle, yep, that's a starter, yep. It's a little different in this.
The guy I will bring up is Gray Zabel. He's going to be really good on the interior.
Yeah.
Because he was the most consistent with pads on that everybody got to see against decent. You know, he had to move up from the level that he played against the people that he was competing against in the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And he not only was consistent during that time against that type of defensive front competition, but also very, very consistent during the week.
Is it easier or is it more complicated when there's not the clear-cut division where a lot of guys could kind of be in that gray area of playing in either role?
That's pretty much Amie decided for them.
Okay.
And they're talked, you know, they and the representative are talked to them about it before any of this ever happens. They don't surprise anybody with anything. They don't just bring him in and say, okay, all of a sudden you're here. They've talked.
We like
about
you, but you're a center.
Yeah, they have talked about it, and some of them have even worked at it. And a lot of these guys that are training at these offensive line guru places now across the country, which there's some really good ones. Once they go into the post-season workouts that they're doing wherever they're training, then clubs and the scouts will say, work him here.
Let me ask you this, following up your question. We talked a lot about players in this pod, in this OTP, about guys going outside to in. Arm length is the telltale in a lot of that. Are there any other factors that could make a guy move inside, or is just arm length maybe one of the main earmarks?
Arm length, foot fire. Arm length, foot fire. How good are your feet? How quick are your feet? Arm length. Everybody's looking for tackle feet, and then you work that way.
There's so much to watch as this draft gets closer and closer. There are so many different things that still could happen. And there are so many position groups that are just full of interesting stories and just incredible athletes. And this is, as we get closer and we go further and further and deeper into these positional previews, I'm getting more and more excited about this draft class. Just because there's really some interesting options and opportunities and guys that I can't wait to see play.
There's always
Sunday.
good players in the draft.
Yep.
I mean, there just are. And some of them, you know, maybe at different spots, but there always are. And I think we've talked earlier about the belly of this draft.
Yep.
Through 77, 78, you got a chance to get some players.
Yeah. Well, there's more positions to talk about. This concludes our episode about the offensive line, but we are not done, friends. We are not done. The next episode of the OTP, our position preview series, is going to be wide receivers and tight ends. And I'm very much looking forward to that because you want to talk about some crazy athletes. This draft has them. So, for Rhett, Bryan, for Coach Mac, I'm Amie Wells. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the OTP.